What is happening, Honey Badger Nation, man? Welcome to Expert Mentors Live, episode 289, and we've got my man, Mr. Curtis Shewell, back in the house. What's happening, brother?
Johnny Kitchen's always a great day when I'm hanging with you, my friend. It's always fun, brother. Always.
We were catching up, and hey, let's go live. This is good. Like we need to jump right into it, and I really wanted to bring today's Expert Mentors conversation really around kind of a project you're working on called Dialed In. And as we were talking, that concept applies to a lot of things. And how do you get really dialed in? And to me, it's that amateur ball, get it dialed in if you want to go pro. And it applies in anything in our lives. And we were talking about your epic adventure and experience over the last couple of weeks when you got to spend a week on a yacht and on Necker Island and hanging out with Sir Richard Branson and so many amazing, well-connected, high achieving champions, right? In life and in business and in sport. Yeah. And one of the things that we were kind of talking about, and I think this is a great way to kick off this conversation, and then, we'll dive into really what the Dialed In program and what you're up to. But how do you get in the right room and not only get in the right rooms, but take advantage of being in the right rooms? And one of the things that, talk about here is once you're in that room and some type of impact, some type of conversation, something happens, how do you continue it after the event, after you get out of the room? How do you continue that conversation, that relationship, the nurture? Because it's one of the things that I see where most people that like to host events, that like to do trainings, that like to do masterminds, I think, Curt, they put so much energy and effort, and you and I talked about this even coming out of Build after everything you do, like that's just the beginning. And you're like, oh man, I just want to breathe, man. That was so heavy. That was so hard. Oh, we got it done. Well, that just started the process. Correct. Now the real work starts. Now Correct. The nurturing and the developing, going deeper and really, growing and adding more value to the relationship that comes out of that. But man, kick us off. Let's talk about, getting in the right rooms. How do you get that dialed in? What's the right way? What's the wrong way? Once you do get in the room, how do you not, expire your invitation to the next event if you burn the relationship, burn the room? So I think this is really key and be really fun conversation to dive into, kicking things off.
Yeah, sure. I think I'm gonna make it as simple as I can from when I was the guy going, how do I get in that room, right? How do I do that? And you would have people going, well, you just do. And I'm like, well, that's great, but what the heck does that mean? Like, how do I just do? And people would talk, you're going to get all the best coaches out there. And I've learned so much from so many. And I think that's really the piece that I want people to understand. It's not any one thing somebody says that's like, oh, that's it. There you go. Now I've got it all figured out. It's not how it works. My dad taught me, work smarter, not harder, work smarter, not harder. And he drilled it in my head, hang out with the right people, blah, blah, blah. And I did those things. But the problem was he never taught me how to work smarter. He taught me how to work harder, right? Give me a phenomenal work ethic, right? I had a paper route. And he said, okay, you want to make twice the money? I'm like, yeah, and I got to make twice the money as this. This is good, but I got to double this. And he's like, well, then go get 2 paper routes. That's smarter. Well, the reality was I did that, but it wasn't smarter. It was harder. I had 2 now, right? Yeah, I made more money, but I made the same amount of money just twice by doing twice the work and twice the time. Now I've got a time problem. You can only have so much time. You can't stretch a day, right? Days only got so much time in it. So you can't live by that method. That's not smarter. That's harder. It's working. It's a great work ethic, and you're going to get paid, proportionate to the time you're putting in. You're trading time for money. Well, a lot of things in life are trading time for money, and we can all do that, and we can do that okay, and you can get something, but are you ever going to get to the level you really want? You can't until you learn leverage. When you learn to leverage, now twice as much money in the same amount of time. And I learned that. And then the next piece is, okay, great. Now start leveraging that. Now I can make the twice as amount of money in half the time, but now use the same amount of time. And now you doubled that again. Now you start, right? Now you start doing something. Now you have residual incomes, you get your business paying you, you got money making you money, and then you'll learn that path. So I started to learn that. Well, when I learned that, it gave me opportunities to talk to better people, better meaning just better at the level I was trying to get to. And I learned I got to stop talking to people that are making $40,000 if I want to make 100. And the number one number of people, Johnny, everybody tells you, right? What do you want to make? I want to make 100 grand. Okay. Have you ever made it? And most people, the answer is no. And if the answer is no, okay, great. Then get in a room with the people who are making 100 grand. Don't get in the room with the guys making 40,000, 50,000, just like you, because they don't know how to make 100 grand. Well, they can talk it and they can read books and you can do these things. They all play into it. But when I learned to get in the room with those people, well, how do you do that? Be authentic. You've heard this a lot. So my number one, if I was writing these down, number one, be authentic, be you. The people that resonate to you are going to resonate to you. The people that aren't going to resonate to you, they don't like you, they're just not. And it's okay. The problem is we think everybody needs to like us. I used to think the same way. I got to get everybody to like me. You don't. What you have to be is interesting to people so they look at you deeper, and then you have to bring value to their world. Well, it's really simple. It's so simple, yet we think it's so difficult. It's not easy. You have to do it, and you have to be purposeful, right? You have to dial it in. So we talk about that, and that's why I created something called Dialed In, because I had to learn how to dial all this in. And we always play around it, but we don't just dial it right in. And what I mean by that is be authentic and start conversations with them. And the number one person they want to talk about is them. And you have to remember that it isn't you. And we all go in with, I need to tell them something brilliant about me. I need to say a story. They say something and you don't want to be that me too guy, right? Oh my God, you did that. Yeah, me too. But mine was even better. And oh my God, you should talk to me.
Yeah.
You're the first person I don't want to talk to, right? You just try to steal my thunder. Like, it's a negative all the way around. So what I found was when I asked them about them, I listened to what they say. Sometimes it's a matter of just listening to the conversation they're having with someone else, and they're talking about something that matters to them. Find the time, lay out the room, be strategic, be dialed in on what you're doing. I want to meet that person. When I see them walking that way, okay, it's obvious they're walking over to the bar. They're walking over towards the bathrooms. They're walking over towards, the hallway, or maybe they're on their phone now to walk outside. They're going to come back in. I'm going to position myself now to be where they're going to come back across my path. Yeah. And then when they do, I'm like, oh, hey, how you doing? I'm going to get in their way by accident, very purposely, because I'm dialing right into what I want to do. Oh, hey, I'm sorry. Oh, hey, aren't you? Boom. I'm Curtis Shewell. Nice to meet you. Thank you. If I remember right, you're into this and this, aren't you? The first thing, oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. Who are you again? Boom. Oh, yeah. Boom. Now they heard your name again. They're going to remember my name. And now they start talking to you. And they start telling you on that. And be genuine. Just stay on that. That's what matters to them. And now you're starting a conversation. Then ask the next question that leads more and deeper. Well, wait a minute. How did you get into that? I mean, what made you even think that way? Oh, my God. Oh, you know where I start. They can't wait because nobody asks them about these things. They want to know where they are now and what they can do and how you can give me something. That's what people come. They come to take, right? We always learn that expression. So number 2, make deposits before you ask for a withdrawal, right? Yeah. And we know this. And Johnny, you're one of those guys who was jamming in my head as my coach for a lot of years, right? A long time. Yeah. Make deposits before you take withdrawals. So I'm making deposits into them that I really genuinely care. When you start like, okay, that's really neat. That's kind of neat. Okay, I have some kids and I have to apply that method. Not, let me tell you what I did with mine. They don't want to know what you did with yours yet. Yeah. You're not there. Stop trying to take withdrawals. Make more deposits. Okay, so you did this, then you did this. Well, I still give me the bridge. Connect me to this. How did that happen? Well, here's what I did next. Whoa. Well, I had to have a person. Wait a minute. Can I ask, if I'd be so bold, how did that person give you the ability to put you in that room? I mean, like for you are connected to these people. I would love to know some of these people in this room, but I don't know them. And what's the first thing they're saying? Oh my God, who do you want to meet? Oh, I can introduce you. I know them all. Yeah. All of a sudden you're their freaking friend, right? And now they feel compelled. I want to do something back for you because you just made me feel. I make them feel something. That's the value.
That's the big thing. Yeah. It's the feeling thing. And getting down to, like I loved what you said there, right? Not only kind of their goals, their aspirations, where are they at now? What were the struggles? What did they overcome in the past? Just it's the whole, like you said, right? If you want to be interesting, be interested, and staying interested in them. One of the best pieces of advice I was given, especially, I love what you said, right? Like, get into the room that you aspire to. And one of the things I'll never forget, it was never give advice to somebody that's a little further down the path than you are unless they ask. And I see that so many times, people just like trying to give advice and I'm just watching it and I'm like, this dude's 14 chapters ahead of you on their journey.
Yep.
they never did ask you for your advice. And so that was always just kind of a good rule of thumb, and being able to get into that room and just ask a ton of great questions. But the number one thing you said, be authentic. Don't come across that you're trying to gain something. You're really just trying to learn. Just ask questions, try to make a connection.
I'll give you an example that might touch the hearts of some people on this that watch this, especially honey badger people. Jay Kinder, I met him on a call once, and he hadn't never met me in person. And then the first time I met him in person, he didn't know who I was, and he kind of fluffed me right off, like, I don't have time for you. And so then I had asked him, the next time I came across him, I said, hey, I don't know if we've formally met. I met you on the call. Oh, you're that guy. Oh, cool. Now he knows who I am in his head, but he doesn't know me. So then we shook hands. Oh, hey, yeah, hey, great. Boom. Then the next day at this mastermind, then I said, hey, I heard them going, hey, we're going to do this. I said, would you mind if I just tagged along just to kind of be a fly on the wall and just kind of sit around? I'd like to just hear, hope you don't mind. It's hard for somebody to say, no, don't come in. And he was like, oh, yeah, sure. And he appreciated that I asked permission versus just forcing my way in, right? Because I could have forced my way in and he would have had a hard time saying, why don't you leave? You don't know. Because he was one of the only two people that knew me. The other people in the room don't know me, but I wanted to hear what they had to say. And I wanted to hear how this was going to go because it pertains to my business. So he's like, yeah, sure. And what did I do? I sat there and I listened and I listened and I listened and I listened. And I said nothing. The other interviews, how you doing? Oh, hey, good to meet you. Curt, were you out of Detroit? Oh, okay, great. That's it. I had nothing interesting to say, but I'm interested in them. And I listened. So then every once in a while, Jay would kind of look at me because I was two people from, one person between us. And he kind of looked at me like, hey, do you like that? Because he was like, oh, you'll probably like that. And I did. And I was like, mm-hmm. Well, when I was just giving this, I wasn't saying anything. We get done. He's like, dude, you were awesome there, man. You got all that. And it was just, he was reading my body language to say, dude, that was good, huh? And I said, yeah. And he said, you like that a lot? I said, dude, I could learn a lot from you. Because I can. The guy was what, the number 2 agent in the country from Global Banker, for God's sakes? Like, he was a beast, right? Like, yeah. And then he goes, yeah, you should come with us and do this. I would love to. The answer is yes. I don't know what that means. I don't know where that is. I don't even know what that entails. He's like, you should come. Yeah, absolutely. If you don't mind. He's like, no, bro. Yeah. Hey, we're leaving at this time. We're going here. Great. Thank you. Now I show up the next time. They're like, oh, dude. Yeah. You're that dude out of Detroit. Yeah. I never said a word, John.
Is it magical how that works?
But I came back around and then I asked for permission. You let me in the room. I said nothing. Then they're like, dude, you were awesome in there. I contributed zero. But what I did was I affirmed a lot of what they were saying because I was listening, right? And they're looking at the body language like, yeah. And I was so dialed in because I knew this was my opportunity and I don't want to blow it. So I dialed in so hard to make sure that I was just there and shut my mouth. Everybody that knows me, I'll tell you our story for hours. I don't run out of words. And, Chuck Fazio's wife, Angela Fazio, says all the time, Curt, you have too many words, right? But the truth is, when you don't talk, you become more powerful, right? So I was able to do that in the room. And then what ended up happening, Jay was connecting me without realizing that he was connecting me by letting me in. Because what did I do? Well, Jay's the guy, and everybody's gravitating to him and pulling from him. I didn't want to be that guy. I want to be the guy that he invites to the next room again. And so what I did was I befriended a couple of people in the room I was watching who wasn't participating. I'm like, okay, they're more like me, I think, maybe, or they're just really smart and they're not saying anything, or they disagree. So I asked, what did you actually think about that? And that's how I met Curtis Johnson. And Curtis Johnson was like, well, these guys do that. That's their thing. I don't do it I do it like this. I'm like, ooh, tell me about that. Oh my God, yeah. And we hit it off like we were kindred spirits from another mother. I mean, it was like crazy. And next thing you know, he's like, why don't you come and, hey, can you have lunch with us tomorrow? I'm like, absolutely. I just got invited in again. And then he was friends with Mark and he knew Mark Z, and I'm like, Mark's here. And hey, look at Mark. Hey, we're meeting with them. He's like, well, I'm meeting with Jay. I'm like, okay, I want to meet with Curt. It was the same thing. They were all meeting the same thing. And we're like, hey, look who's here. Next thing you know, you're in these conversations and now they know you, and now you can add some input because they're asking. And it's what you said.
That was gonna be my question was, at what point do you kind of know, okay, now I can start adding value back to the room instead of just being here? Because one of my favorite books, I don't know if you've ever read it. It's called The Third Door. And essentially it's the whole concept that life is like a nightclub. And you have the front entrance with the red carpet. You got the big bodyguards. They got, the little chain across. You can't get in. The line is long. The nightclub could be empty, but the line is long, right? It's perceived that, man, that's the place. We got to get in there. And that's the front door. Good luck getting in, right? If unless you just standing in line, you're probably not going to get in. If you do, who knows? You might not, what that would look like. The second door is the VIP entrance. It's the where you got to have some clout, you got to have some celebrity, you got to have some money, pay your way in, or celebrity your way in, because they want you in the nightclub, which will bring more people to the front door. And then there's the third door, which is might be a cracked window. There might be a back door they left unlocked. There might be got to go down into the basement, and work my way back up. I'll never forget when we were having one of our last EGS events. We had Mastermind. We went out in the boat, and Michael Reese partaked a little too excessively out on the boat that evening, and he decides that he needs to take a nap on the bus on the way back. And of course, he's sitting in the front seat taking a nap as everybody's getting off the bus, right? So of course, let's have fun with Mike. It's time for Mike to go to bed, and we got to get Mike upstairs. Well, the only way in is through the lobby to the elevators upstairs, and I'm like, we can't do that. That's not an option.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So there is another way. There is always another way. So we went around back, found the service elevator, went through, talked to the security guard, said, hey, this is what's going on. We got the event. We can't take him through the front door. He's like, absolutely, get in. We come off the service elevator, one door next to his door, went in, nobody saw us. But that's the kind of thinking that we have to have, that no matter what, there's always a way. And that's that third door. Yeah. And so whatever you do, you find the room, believe me, there's always a way to get in the room. And I loved right there, where is the transition once you find yourself in the room to where, okay, I need to start depositing and adding value to this room, or I'll never get back in this room again.
Yeah. And you always have that fear, right? Like, this is my one shot. I don't want to blow it. And I want to talk to them, go to the island with Richard Branson. I was like, I made the joke with a couple of friends that I was with there, and they were like, so what's your goal for this trip? And I said, my goal is that Richard Branson, when I leave this island, will know me by first name. It would be like, Curt, I'll miss you. I'll see you. Right. He'll know me by first name. And they were like, good luck with that. And I said, I'm going to get there. Right. That was my goal. Now, do I know if I can get it? No. Remember, I've had people, they've been on this before that never even spoke to him other than, hey, well, how you doing? And that's it. Right. And so I ended up having 7 one-on-one opportunity conversations with the guy. And I kept getting myself in front of him one way or another to where he was reaching out to me. Yeah. And then it's, oh, sure, Richard. Yeah, I'd love to. Right. And again, it's less is more. So I was I had to dial in, and we talk about dialed in. I had to dial into, okay, what is it that I really need to be hyper-focused on here? Don't fanboy him, right? Yeah. First thing I need to not do is go, can we have a picture together first? That is not what he's looking for. He was looking for value that he saw out of me based on a mastermind man. The speaker addressed me. I gave a pretty good answer, and it worked out fantastic because then he wanted to talk to me. Phenomenal, right? But also I got a lot of people in that room that wanted to talk to me because of the way I answered the question. So then that opened the door for me and for these people. Well, with Richard, I wanted to make sure I got there. Well, my goal was to get him to know my name. Well, what does that really mean? That means I have to have so many meaningful conversations with him. I have to talk to him in a way that I'm bringing value to him, that he would want to remember who the heck I am. And I was successful in doing that because when we left, and during the event, I had actually pulled my hamstring playing pickleball, right, on day 4 of 6. And he was on the courts with me in our group when that happened. So he was like, hey, I've got a cold plunge over next to the hot tub over by the other, area where, the lunch is at today. And it's by the bar and all that stuff. There's a pool, there's a hot tub, there's a cold plunge. So when I did that, I said, all right, thank you. Well, am I going to not take his advice? I'm going to do it. I have a feeling, I already met with him a handful of times, that he's going to ask me about it later if I run into him.
Yeah.
Right?
How was the cold plunge? How's the hamstring? Yeah.
But I dialed in myself going, okay, this is a great opportunity. I'm going to go do all that. Now I have a reason to circle back and find him and seek him out to go, hey, thank you. Right? Thank you for making another deposit in me that I was able to go get the hot cold plunge, and it really helped, or if it did or didn't, whatever. But now I have a talk track with him. I have a reason to talk to him. So what had happened was I went over to it, got in this. I'd never been in one before. Oh my God, was that cold? And it was painful. So I was only in it for very short, got out. And then I'm kind of standing up the side going, man, I'm supposed to be in there for like, I think 2-3 minutes. And I'm trying to figure out how long I'm supposed to be in this thing. I couldn't, 30 seconds was like painful. So I'm trying to figure this out. I'm kind of sitting off to the side here for a minute. He comes over to check on me to see how I was doing. So, okay, I'm liking this.
Now he's going to coach you through how to go through it.
So you saw the video I posted online of my coach of the cold plunge, which was Richard Branson, because he tells me, well, go get in this thing. And he says, no, you got to. I said, dude, I tried to get in this. He goes, why didn't you stay in it? I go, it was so painful, Richard. I don't know. I've never been in it. It was just, that was so painful. He goes, oh, you're probably doing it wrong. How did you get in? I said, well, I got in, and he's like, oh, no. Your hands and your feet were in? I go, well, yeah. And he's like, no. You've never done this before. You just can't do that. It's too painful. The bones in your hands and in your feet are too small. It's going to be really painful and you won't last. I said, oh, he goes, yeah, it's unbearable. He goes, you have to learn how to do it. I said, okay. And he goes, come on. And I'm like, oh boy, this is good. He takes me over, says, okay, get in. And I go to get, he's no, you're getting in it wrong. I'm like, how do I get in this thing? And he's laughing at me because he's a funny guy. He's actually really funny guy. But you have to get to that level where he shows you his funniness and talks and swears and does all these other things, which was really funny. You don't see that at the surface level because he doesn't do that. But then when you're down to a level now, we're in there, right? We're dialed in with each other. This is good because he's trusting me, right? That establishes the trust. So I know he's comfortable with me, and I'm like, this is really cool. So anyway, he tells me to get the other way. I get in the other way. Keep your feet out. Keep your hands out. Stick your butt in there. And I said, okay. So then I'm getting in, and I'm itching down in this thing, and he goes, isn't your injury your hamstring? I said, yeah. He goes, is it your groin? And I'm like, no, that's the only thing in the water. Get your butt in the water and get your legs down under there and keep your feet out. I'm like, okay. So, he's even teasing me about that. So I get in, he's like, okay, is the injury submerged under the water? I said, yeah. And he goes, okay, now you're good. He goes, it'll be bearable, watch. And I was like, it's cold. Actually, it is very cold, but okay, this is bearable. He's right. I was like, oh, wow, I can do this. And I asked him, how long do I stay in? And he says, the hamstring, 45, 50 minutes. And I'm like, 50? Wait a minute, did you say 50 or 15, 15? And he starts laughing. He goes, 50. I'm looking at him like, you haven't been 50. He can't hold himself. He's busting out laughing. You're in there for like 2 to 3 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you son of a gun. And he calls himself a very derogative swear word. He goes, I'm a effer. Yeah. I'm like, yes, you are. And he goes, I'm a real effer. And I'm like, yes, you are. And I said, hold on, I'm going to video this. So I video myself in the cold plunge and go, here's my coach. Coach, tell me how long am I supposed to stay in this? He's like, 1 hour. 1 hour is good for you. I go, yeah, I'd freeze of hypothermia and die.
Yeah, you'd be Connor.
Dead. I go, this is my coach. And he's laughing. So that's how we ended up spending over an hour together because he told me, get in the hot tub with him after. So I come over to the hot tub. Now we're just chatting, talking and everything. And then people start kind of slowly gravitating to that area because there was no one there when we got there. And then he goes, okay, get back in the cold plunge and do it again. At 3 minutes, he's like, all right, just 3 minutes. So get back in here. I come back in again. And he says, make sure you end in the cold plunge. I'm like, oh, okay. He goes, cold, hot, and then end in the cold. I said, okay. Well, we go back. We're solving world problems. I mean, we are having deep conversations, and he's asking me a ton of stuff. So now it opens up for me to ask him everything. Now I'm talking about the space, Virgin Galactic and the space program, and what's the most impressive thing you've ever done in your life? What's the one thing that wowed you? Who's the most inspirational person or people in your life? Tell me everything. I mean, we were having these amazing conversations. He was telling me people he likes and doesn't like, and why he doesn't like them, and why he does, and these are some big power people, and because his world is a different group of people, right. And it was really amazing. And he said my name back to me a dozen times. So I'm like, Richard knows my name. He knows me by first name. But we shared a lot of time together and a lot of conversations. But I kept asking him stuff that was about him, and he kept asking me stuff about me. And then he finally asked me, he says, who's here that you need to meet that would help you with your business?
Mm-hmm. Now he wants to add back. So, Curt, when you look at, kind of getting dialed in that initial thing, how important, because, we talked about this right before we came on live. How important is it to have dialed in that, 30, 45-second elevator pitch, right? To be able to have that opening.
Paramount.
How important is that to have that dialed in?
It's everything, right? Because that's your one shot. You blow that, you don't get a second shot, right?
Right.
So you have to have that dialed in, and you have to be able to just boom, right? And then when that gal who was the speaker on day one, she had asked me, so what do you do for a living? And that was the first night we were there for the dinner, and she ended up sitting with us for dinner, and we were talking, and she said, so what do you do for a living? Now, when I ask real estate agents all the time, if I ask you, what do you do for a living? And people go, oh, I'm in real estate. I sell real estate. Yeah, I'm a realtor. I'm in real estate. That's the number one answer you get. It's a horrible answer. It's a horrible answer because it doesn't lend to more other than, oh, so how's the market? Maybe if you get lucky, somebody asks you that. But these people that you really want to meet, they're not asking you that. That's what we ask each other. Oh, so how's biz? How's the market? It's just a BS thing. It's like me, Johnny, how you doing? And what do you say? I'm doing great, Curt. How are you? You don't really care how I'm doing, but you say the polite response back. These are just program responses. Go to the furniture store, just looking. Well, no, you're here for something, right? Nobody just walks around looking at furniture stores. So you have to have that so dialed in. And what I learned was when I answer that question, so what do you do for a living? Or, so what do you do? Or what business are you in? Oh, I just help people accumulate wealth and residual income through real estate. And they're like, wait a minute, you do what?
Yeah.
How do you do that? It makes them ask you more questions.
Yeah.
And now I have a talk track.
Right.
Now in the conversation. Wow, it's about leveraging people and stuff. Real estate, we help people buy, we help people sell. I never say I sell anything because you're a salesman if you do. You're just salesy. I don't sell anything, but because the truth is I don't, John. You don't either. We help people buy, we help people sell. That's what we do. And the better we help them, the bigger the problem we solve, more money we make. The thing I learned from Richard Branson, and when I said that to him, right, he was like, oh, I like that. Because, and his reply back was, because I started the society that I have, which is the most important thing to him, is he has a society, which are conflict resolution group. So this conflict resolution group are world leaders. The Dalai Lama, it used to be Nelson Mandela, is one of his most influential people in his world was Nelson Mandela. He built this thing called the temple. People think, and it's been written in books and stuff. He said it's written that he did it for the Dalai Lama. He built it for him. He goes, I really didn't, because I built it because I was meeting with the Dalai. I was meeting with Nelson Mandela. I was meeting with 5 other world leaders, and we were all coming together to create this group for conflict resolution. Because if we can solve all conflict, that's the bigger the problem you solve, right? The better the world would be. And for me, and for us, and for what we do, and for your business, the bigger the problem you solve, the more money you're going to make. Solve people's problems. You have the world at your hand. He's trying to resolve conflict. Let's eliminate conflict, and we can all grow bigger, better for everybody and for mankind. Because these people are talking at that level. We're talking about how do we make more money. This guy's talking about how do I make mankind better. It's amazing, but that's the group of people he's in. So when I said that, he immediately resonated. And then I asked him about the temple, and he told me the whole story of how it was built, why it was built. And he wanted to have something to commemorate and to memorialize forever Nelson Mandela. He said, the guy's one of the most amazing people you would ever have met. And he said, I wanted to have this so people never forget his message and what he represented and stood for and how we do this together. And that's what we do. So that's what he was really about.
No, I love it. And, I think kind of just kind of transitioning here a little bit, Curt, with kind of the focus and where your focus is to help more agents. And you've been doing something. How long have you guys been doing your 7:30 call?
For 6.5 years.
Wow. You talk about impressive. And it's the Breakfast Club to where, able to call in. You kind of have a little bit of a different theme throughout the week, a little bit of different as the calls go. And I always hear you say it, right? Just dialed in. You've probably said it a dozen times in here as we're talking about, hey, get this dialed in, get this dialed in. And that evolution. And I think it's slipped a little bit with agents over the last 3-4 years. As you kind of went through 20, 21, 22, a lot of agents, had some, they were kind of had a tailwind. So they didn't really need to sharpen and really get their sales skills dialed in and their talk tracks and their value articulation and being able to get that to the next level and dialed in. The winds have changed. We're into a dead headwind in everything that we do. and getting by on what you used to be able to say, or just kind of conversational or whatever, if you don't have a clear understanding of how to, like you said, how do you get in the right room? Shut your mouth until you have the opportunity to add value. When you add value, you better have it dialed in on what it is that you do and your expertise to be able to add value. And so I love kind of where you're taking the Breakfast Club to the next step and calling it dialed in, being able to get it dialed in. I would love for you to kind of share what that looks like for those agents that are out there. I mean, because you consistently have what, 50, 60, 70 people on that call every day morning?
Yeah, we go anywhere, like on a bad day, we'll have about 70 now. And on a good day, we have about 120.
Yeah.
So yeah, it depends on which day of the week it is, and people come in because we do role playing. We cover a lot of different things we break it up. So I have different coaches on the call with me, so it's not just a Curt thing. So you get to hear from different, very good coaches who are all people that get paid to coach people and that do different things. And I wanted to do something that I could do that I don't have to charge anybody. I don't want to be that guy that everything, oh, you want to talk to me, it costs you money. I don't ever want to be that guy. I want to be the guy that actually genuinely, honestly is trying to help you. And if you see value and there's more for us to do together, okay, well, let's figure that out. I'd rather do something with you when we make money together than for you to pay me for anything. So I said, well, how could I do this? And I have so many people that ask me every day, well, how do I get a one-on-one with you? Or how do I get in a private group with you? Or how can you teach me these things so I can talk like you talk, or ask the questions you ask? And how can I get more dialed in? And I said, I tell everybody, just dial in on this call, dial in, to our conference line every morning and dial in. And then with you and Brooke, and you guys were like, why don't you do a dialed in? It's a Breakfast Club thing, and it's the next level. Why don't you do it for a cup of coffee? And I said, that you asked me, you said, what would you do it for? I said, I would do it for a cup of coffee, right? They have to have some skin in the game. So if they had to buy me a cup of coffee, and coffee that I don't drink coffee, but my wife does, right? So she drinks a caramel macchiato, grande latte, frappuccino, I don't know, whatever these things are from Starbucks. And that's her favorite. Well, it's like $7, right? Like 6 and change. So it's like $7 for the venti super duper one. So I said, all right, you give me $7 for my cup of coffee for my wife, and I will coach you. I will teach you. I will help you. And so I said, every week you got to do that. So we came up with, okay, well, that's $28 a month that you have to pay. 4 cups of coffee, and I will meet with you 4 times. And I will teach you the talk tracks. I will teach you all these things. You want to learn how to, handle every objection. One of my most sought after classes that people really like is the negotiation class. That's probably their favorite one. The second favorite one I tend to ask people to speak from stages and stuff from is know as your friend, right? And it's just knowing what to say and how to say it. And I've been in these competitions now, which was a lot of fun, and we talked about that. And just a few months back, I was in a competition locally. The 8 of the top teams and their top, either the trainer or the team leader, whoever it was, and like Jeff Glover is a big team in our, and he's even known nationwide through his coaching plan. And this guy's he's great, he's fantastic, right? Well, I got paired with him in the first round, right? So I had to go up there and objection handle, and you go 3 rounds, and send him home and like, hey Jeff, thanks for coming, and you're awesome. But we do it a little different. We just do it a little different. And then the next group, and then the next group, and the next group, you just boom, 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 right into the championship, right? Yeah. So that's how it works. But it's just because we have a different talk track, right? So when we're talking to people and they want to know, Curt, these people say no. Well, they're programmed to say no. We teach them to say no.
Yeah.
Then learn your dialogues, learn your script. Script is just the right questions, and then you take them down that path. So I ask questions where no is the answer. No is the answer I want. Yeah. And they're like, what do you mean, Curt? You never want them to say no. No, they're going to say no. I want them to. So I'm going to flip the script. I'm just going to ask them questions like, well, Curt, thank you so much. This is really great. We like the house. We're just going to think about it. Okay, great. So what you're telling me is you really like this house. Seems like it's the right one for you. You told me this, this, and this. Repeat back to them their words. It's very difficult to argue your own words. So I repeat them back to their words and then say, so if I heard you right, you really don't want to wait. You just want to make sure you're making a good decision. So you really don't want to wait if it's the right one, do you? Well, no. Oh, okay, good. So we're not really wanting to wait. We just want to make sure we're making the right decision. And you don't want to lose money and make a bad choice. Is that right? Yeah, no, we don't. Oh, okay, great. So then is there any reason you wouldn't want me to call the other agent to see what kind of offer we could put in and see what I can do and start the negotiation to see if we could have you sleep in your favorite house? Is there any reason you wouldn't want to sleep in your favorite house? Well, no. Oh, okay, great. So what we want to do then is have me give them a call. Why don't we do this? Let's go down the street and meet at Starbucks. You can buy that cup of coffee from my wife, right? I do drink chai tea lattes. So we can do that, and I'll call them on the way, and we'll sit down, and I'll give you, where we're at and what we can do, so we can put an offering, because you really don't want to wait and lose out on your favorite house, do you? Well, no. Oh, okay, great. Then let's do that. I like how you think. Great idea. It's their idea, right? Because they need to say no. No is powerful to them, but yet they're like, oh my gosh. And it eases them right into, yeah, let's do this, because I don't want to miss out. I don't want to sleep in my second favorite house. I don't want to miss out on the opportunities. I really want to make sure we win. You don't want to lose, right? Well, no. Okay, great. You want to win then. So if we're going to win, then we need to do this, this, and this. And you wouldn't want to wait and put that up, would you? No. You wouldn't want to lose more money, would you? No. It's so simple, but we just don't ask the questions right.
Right.
Because when you make them say yes to you, say yes, say yes. That's the 80s type style of training, right? ABC, always be closing, Glengarry Glen Ross, Wolf of Wall Street, just got out there and rip their hearts out. You want to sign this? You don't have a pen? Oh, you need a pen. Okay, sign it. We don't have to sell like that, right? Because that's selling. No. Everybody wants to buy, no one wants to be sold. So these are the ways we can teach you. So if you dial in and you want to get in the right rooms, I can teach you the path to getting good and practicing and rehearsing. But everything takes practice. Everything takes time. And if you dial in and you really, really dial it in right, you'll do this. So I realized the Breakfast Club, I'm having people dial in. Well, here, I can dial you in there, and I don't want your money, but here, you buy me a cup of coffee, and I will teach you.
Take you a little bit layers deeper. I love it. It's so good. And, for you guys, listening in here, breakfastclubdialedin.com. It'll take you to Curt's page. You can get access to the free coaching call that they do at 7:30 Eastern every morning. 60 to 120 people on that call, Monday through Friday. Different coaches, different topics, different themes each of the days. So it's well worth turning in. Every day is not the same, so it's well worth turning in every day. And then if you want to take it a step further with Curt, get into Dialed In for a cup of coffee a week. It's what it's going to cost you. Get in, and as we were kind of talking through it, it was. You got to have some skin in the game. I mean, that's just at the end of the day, you got to have something in some skin in the game. So, man, I think it's a no-brainer. I think you know what I think about you, and being able to get people dialed in. There's nobody better, and what you're able to do there to take people to the next level is pretty dang awesome.
Thank you, John. Yeah, it's really. I don't want your money, but I'll give you my time, but you got to be committed somehow. Right. Mm-hmm. So a cup of coffee is fair, and everybody seems to like that idea. So let's do this together, because together we're a lot better and we're a lot stronger. And the truth is, I stay better and stronger the more I practice, just like you. So I need to keep doing it. And what they are getting the benefit of, I'm coached by you. Right. You're one of my coaches, and I'm always all the best of the best are always coached. Right. That's the thing that we all have in common. We all have a coach. So if you're getting coached by the best of the best, you have more to share. Right. Because then I can share with them what I'm learning, so I can master it, but I internalize it and then show them how to do the same thing. Attracting agents, building a business, building your business, building a team, growing a team, recruiting agents, handling objections. I mean, I do the $1,000 challenge, right? I'll give you $1,000 if you give me a sales objection. I'm buying or selling a house that I can't answer. I'll pay you $1,000. I'll give you kid cash. And I've been putting that out there for about 12 years now. I've yet to pay anybody $1,000.
It's right there is the proof. That's all the proof you need.
Yeah. Right. So, yeah.
It's awesome. Curt, you're amazing. I appreciate you, brother. And I'm excited for you. I know every agent I talk to, listen, you got to get in. You got to get connected with Curt. You got to be on these calls. As head of companies, we have to develop, a good handful of skill sets. Yeah. One of them is sales. That's one of them, is being able to have a conversation the right way, how to be able to articulate your value. And like I said, there's nobody better.
Well, thank you, Johnny. I appreciate you, my brother. Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Thanks for sharing.
Awesome. We'll see you guys.